By virtue of the authority conferred upon me, I constitute this gathering as a congregation of the University of Cape Town.
Please be seated.
Hayi madoda yaswabuluka inamba lapho miguswe khasini fikile lo mini kadixelwa vuma siyuthi yasohlukana kudala unibambezele zithi zazi imfundo zithi ingqondo akhonto njalo zithi ziyatha yoyo asizukwazi ubathetha thina ngoba ndazi bangasathini bangathatha ngaphala inyembezi baphina mzwakhe mbula bafanele ubongwa manje ubethu bemnye ubemdokwe nkawu yothi cha kwabe abakufundisa manje sondele kunini nasithwala kanti ufana ukufundisa babantwana ndithi kunini nasincali nani sincuba buthopho wuntshuko umsebenzi omhlani wenzile kwaba bantwana nikile imfundo nayiphahlula nayikekezela kwaba bethu abantwana niqhubekekeke ningalilahla lokhonto ngalo mazwi ndithi belelide kuni ndisondele kubo kwasingaye ngoba sisondele kuni lidudumile lihlule zesithi masifike siqholoqholozele simana kunxaxhasana uyoxola ngamlibalo senyangweni ngoba kunjanjanja intando yakhe andazi bangathetha thina ngani ngoba niyampile niwele imifula ninyuka izintaba nikhangela ulwazi kuze kwazothi qiqaphu apha seyuthina ifumana lento beniyifuna thathani uxanduva lwenu niyambe ukugula nigqibile ndisabamba ngazibini kunini nabazali babantwana nina siphatho vuma siyuthi sehlukane mathunzi anabile ngeba ndiyaqhubeka nale ndaba ngase ndibhale inyembezi yalo nto ndisithi nje yalo gobho ndathi yo.
Let's please stand up for the singing of the national anthem. Vice Chancellor, it is my pleasure to invite the SRC member, Duncan Angwenyi, to read the dedication of the university.
Good morning. My name is Duncan Angwenyi, an SRC member 2018-2019, the Deputy Secretary General, the University Dedication. At this time of celebration, we, the members of the University of Cape Town, reaffirm our mission to nurture rational and creative thought and free inquiry, to strive for excellence in teaching and research, to educate for life, and to address the challenges of our society. We undertake to advance these ideals in a spirit of freedom and responsibility, and through consultation and debate. We celebrate our founders, benefactors, and predecessors, those who have built the fabric and nourished the values of UCT. To those of you who will graduate today, we wish you courage, wisdom, and purpose. To those who will leave the university to learn and work elsewhere, may you be sustained by those values which unite us here today and advance them in the world beyond. A love of truth and learning, and this, our university. Thank you.
Please be seated. Vice Chancellor, we are delighted to invite opera singer Ruben Umbonambi to perform at today's ceremony. The vibrant South African College of Music is a jewel in the crown of the University of Cape Town and is at the forefront of music making in South Africa and internationally. The procession was led by Sky Dadla and Balakrook Marimbas, an ensemble made of UCT students. The poem of praise, the Umbongo, was performed in honor of the graduates, their families, and teachers by Mkanyiseli Bangata, who at the tender age of 12 started praise singing at school functions in the Eastern Cape. The national anthem was accompanied on the organ by Alexios Pikatos, who is a first-year PhD student in the field of X-ray crystallography in chemistry. Concert pianist Ian Botma has played as a soloist with the Cape Town Philharmonic Orchestra and at the Stellenbosch International Piano Symposium. He graduated in April with a BMAS degree in performance with a distinction in music theory and analysis. And bass baritone Ruben already holds a national diploma in marketing, but he has decided to do the right thing and follow his dream and enroll as a first-year opera student at the South African College of Music. For those of you who are interested in music and see the connection between different genres of music, it would be interesting to know that Plaisir d'amour by Jean-Paul et Gilles Martini, which is the song that Ruben sang for us, actually served as an inspiration for Elvis Presley for his song Can't Help Falling in Love. So everything is connected in this life. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to remark the obvious, and it is that UCT students are multi-talented, high achiever, and beautiful to boot. So if you can please give them another round of applause. Now, welcome to you again, ladies and gentlemen. A special word of welcome to our postgraduate graduandi from all faculties and from the Graduate School of Business. Welcome to the mothers, fathers, grandparents, extended family, spouses, lovers, and anybody who might have contributed to paying UCT fees. And these are big ones because it is the School of Business and Postgraduate Education. So, thank you to all of you. Welcome to the deans of the faculties and the academic staff in the platform party. Well done to all of you. Well done to your teachers and to your supervisors who have guided you through your degrees, and to all UCT staff who have made your life as a student at this university possible. All graduations at UCT are special moments in which we celebrate our students and our staff achievements. Postgraduate graduations at a research-intensive university are especially important, as we see in these graduates the seed of the new professoriate, the new generation of contributors to research and development in the country, the innovators, the problem solvers, who will, through their research and their research skills, help make our world a better, safer, healthier, and more equal place. Today's graduation is made even more special because the university is conferring an honorary doctorate. Honorary doctorate signals the university appreciation for the contribution that certain individuals make to society. I would like to extend a very special word of welcome to Mr. Denis Goldberg, who is the honorary graduate in this ceremony. And now I would like to invite the university orator, Professor Lewis, who is also Dean of the Faculty of Engineering and the Built Environment, to do the oration in honor to Mr. Goldberg.
Vice Chancellor, I have the honor to present for the award of the degree of Doctor of Science in Engineering, honoris causa, Denis Theodore Goldberg. There were 10 accused in the Rivonia trial. The charges included recruiting for the purpose of violent revolution and committing acts of sabotage. The penalty was death. Accused number 1 was Nelson Mandela, number 2 was Walter Sisulu, and number 3, and the youngest, was Denis Goldberg, the man who is before you today. From his autobiography, the day for sentencing in the Rivonia trial in Pretoria was 12th of June, 1964. I was 31 years old. The prosecution wanted the maximum sentence, and we expected it, death. But in a short statement to the court, the judge imposed a sentence of life imprisonment. As he spoke, I watched the faces of my comrades light up with the most wonderful smiles of joy and relief. We laughed out loud, overjoyed to live, even though it would mean life behind bars. My mother was in court, and in the commotion could not hear what the judge had said. She called out, "What is it?" And I replied, "Life. Life is wonderful." I was 31 years old. I would spend altogether 22 years in prison. Denis Theodore Goldberg was born in Cape Town in 1933. He went to Observatory Boys School and he studied civil engineering at UCT. Highlights and lowlights of his time at UCT include being only 16 when he started his studies, and therefore always being the youngest and the smallest in the rugby team. He managed the unusual feat of failing applied maths but passing pure maths 2 years in a row. He was also painfully aware that not one black student studied engineering at the so-called Open University of Cape Town in his time. It was the deliciously cooked roast lamb with garlic and potatoes that led him to a new and very distracting girlfriend, Esme, and it was Esme that led Denis to become involved in the non-racial Modern Youth Society. He organized meetings and political discussions, dropped leaflets, and spent weekends organizing non-racial youth camps. Denis was also part of the organizing committee for the Congress of the People that culminated in the writing of the Freedom Charter, a document that is embedded in the South African Constitution. Esme and Denis soon married and had 2 children, Hilary and David. Throughout his activist years, he also worked as a civil engineer. He was first involved in building the Athlone Power Station, and then, after he was fired from that job for political agitation, he also designed a road that ran through the Wingfield Military Airport. He wasn't very impressed with the security arrangements at Wingfield, and in typical Denis fashion, did not hesitate to let them know. His first experience of prison was actually in 1960. It was after the Sharpeville massacre and a state of emergency had been declared. There was a nationwide call to stay at home, and Denis, wanting to provide food to support the strikers, was detained. He was 27, and he spent 4 months in detention without trial. 3 years later, and at this stage a member of Umkhonto we Sizwe, Denis was arrested at Lily's Leaf Farm in Rivonia and became accused number 3 in the treason trial. He never practiced again as an engineer. Just 8 years after his graduation in this very hall, he was standing in the dock in the Palace of Justice in Pretoria, waiting to hear that he had received the death sentence. That was followed by 22 long years in Pretoria Central, separated from the rest of his comrades, Mandela and Sisulu, since he was the only white convict. Towards the end of his sentence, he was overseen by warders who had not yet been born at the time of his first imprisonment. For many years, bed was a mat on a hard floor and breakfast was a bowl of gruel. But he read 300 books in his first year of prison. He taught himself German, even though he would not hear it spoken until many years later. He earned 3 degrees, and he was the go-to person for warders who were studying. He maintained not only his sharp mind, but also his wry sense of humor. When Jeremy Cronin arrived at Pretoria Central to serve his 7-year sentence, Denis greeted him with, "Don't worry, you've only got a parking ticket. You'll hardly be here long enough to dirty the dishes." Denis Goldberg was released in 1985 and went into exile, working for the London mission of the ANC. He now lives in Hout Bay, where his house is floor-to-ceiling art. Every spot on every wall is chock full with color and creativity. There are paintings and sculptures and banners and bookcases full of books. A massive window in his lounge overlooks the mountains across the bay. The unrestricted view is a daily reminder that he is not only no longer behind bars, but that he can look out into the landscape and his wonderful life beyond. Part of that is fulfilling a dream through the Denis Goldberg House of Hope, an arts, cultural, and educational center. It is a place where children from Imizamo Yethu and Hunklip can get together and learn music, language, life orientation, IT skills, and performing arts. The man before you has an unfailing passion for life. He has given selflessly for the ideals of justice and equality. He is known for his bravery, intellect, and sense of humor. And he is also a man who is filled with compassion and hope. And personally, Comrade Denis, you've been a great inspiration to me, especially as an engineering student in the 1980s, when my fellow progressives were leaving engineering for more relevant subjects like sociology and economic history. And you've been an example to me and to many of what it means to be a progressive engineer. And it is a real honor to be able to deliver this oration for you today. I salute you. Vice Chancellor. Vice Chancellor, I have the honor to present for the award of the degree of Doctor of Science in Engineering, honoris causa, Denis Theodore Goldberg.
Vice Chancellor, Deputy Chair of Council, and all the other dignitaries here. I don't know you all. I don't even know your titles. But I want to tell you, in 1955, when I got my bachelor degree in this very hall, I didn't get a hug from a gorgeous woman who's Chancellor. What a change in South Africa, that a woman can be Vice Chancellor of a university. and dare I whisper, a black woman at that. They tell me nothing has changed in South Africa since 1994, and I want to tell you, I'm not very diplomatic. That's a load of cobblers. Lots has changed. When I look at this hall today and compare it to when I got my bachelor degree in 1955, there was a sea of white faces. There wasn't South Africa here. And today South Africa is here, on the platform, down there, getting degrees. And I want to say that my comrades and I, Rivonia Trial and tens of thousands of others, we did something, you know. We changed the country. We really have changed the country and made it possible for new things to happen. None of us did it on our own. And there is a narrative, you know, that Nelson Mandela, great leader that he was, and it was such an honor to serve with him and to be inspired by him, didn't bring freedom on his own. The story is Nelson Mandela sat in prison and he whispered some nice words to President de Klerk. He said, "Okay, I'll open the doors and you can be free." That too is a load of nonsense, you know. The real leader, and Nelson Mandela honors it, acknowledges it himself, was the ANC in exile led by the great O.R. Tambo. And when you ask young people today, do you know the name O.R. Tambo? They'll think and say, isn't there an airport named after him? But who he is another question. And that's rather sad, because the true greatness is that through his leadership with his comrades, we were able to inspire the mass of people of South Africa. They weren't all members of the ANC, but what the ANC was proclaiming, a non-racial South Africa, a South Africa where all who lived in it would have equal rights, in the Freedom Charter. And out of that emerged the United Democratic Front, with something like 2 million members. It's a mass of people who brings freedom. Why do I talk about it now? Why this old history? Because we're in trouble in our country today. I want to tell you, I have a comrade, Albie Sachs, renowned judge. We were at university together, but we've known each other for well over 70 years when we both wore short pants. He was a head taller than me. He was much more of an activist than I was. And he was called upon by the late O.R. Tambo in exile to begin to put together the ideas of a new constitution, to turn the Freedom Charter into a constitution. He didn't do it on his own. He began to work with Oliver, as we know him, to put the framework together and to recruit people, many of them, South Africans, experts in constitutional development, and people from around the world. But when we were free, and there was the need to appoint judges to the Constitutional Court, Albie Sachs was, of course, named for this. He'd been, after all, instrumental in drawing up our remarkable Constitution. And there were lawyers who had carefully upheld every aspect of apartheid legislation, who made Albie run the gauntlet, if I can put it that way, of you can't be a Democrat, you're a communist. He drew up the democratic constitution. Those who upheld the reactionary, oppressive constitution were claiming the right to determine who could be Democrats. I have to tell you, I find it shameful that this kind of thing happened. But even more shameful is that there are still people around who rather regret that we put an end to formal apartheid and have a democratic constitution. In my time in the 1950s, second-year students, Alison, were the most reactionary, civil engineering students were the most reactionary of all. In the 1950s, increasing apartheid was being imposed on universities, and when there were protests, civil engineering students would break up the meetings. And I would argue and say, but why do you do this? We engineers need to build infrastructure. We need to build for all our people. All of our, at that time, 20 or 30 million people, not for whites and a few million around us. And they said, but we get work from the government, we support apartheid. And they showed it then. It was quite difficult being in a minority of one in a class of originally 200, but round about 40 in later years. But I was quite fortunate. I'm a tough guy, emotionally and physically. I played rugby, which gave me a kind of status, you know. Never made it to the first team. Damn it, I played second team, I played under 19. I did play at Newlands, and I could kick the hell out of that ball. And when you're down on the fields here and kick it, there's such an echo off the wall. Man, what a relief, what an emotional relief. And so I could sort of get by. And then you see, as you were told in the citation, I joined the Modern Youth Society, which grew out of a left-wing organization at UCT called the Modern World Society. You know, only left students talk about the world and internationalism and so on. And they wanted to meet with working class youth of all colors. And the UCT policy was only students on campus, no foreigners allowed at all. I mean, South African people, if they're not students. And to be a student here, you had to be white, essentially. And so there was the Modern Youth Society. And we had people of all colors there, of all social classes. The great Ndimba Yatoivu out of Namibia learned his politics with us, ended up as one of the founders of SWAPO, and led part of the struggle to liberation in Namibia. There was George Peake, a builder, a trade unionist, learned his politics with us. There was Albie Sachs, there were the Turoks. Some of my comrades, Amy and Bubbles, are sitting over there now, learnt our politics together there. And so, you see, at UCT at the time, that there were these right-wing tendencies and acceptance of instruction from government. And Ma'am Vice-Chancellor, in your first edition of Alumni magazine, you've tried to, shall I say, atone for the past of the university. Archie Mafiji, who was to be appointed a senior lecturer and on instructions from the government was denied. Of Professor later A.C. Jordan, who was the South African expert on Nguni language, denied a professorship and a doctorate. It's been done posthumously. Can we really put it right? Or can we say, through your actions, ma'am, to accelerate the slow pace of transformation that's been happening here? You know, in prison, I discovered that big institutions are quite difficult to turn around. It's like an oil tanker going full speed. How do you stop it? How do you turn it? And I mean getting a new head of the prison coming along, taking the microphone and saying to the prisoners, all white by the way, "Good morning, gentlemen, I'm the new head of the prison." And for the whole day, the prisoners say, he called us gentlemen. He actually treated us with respect. But it took at least 10 years for the prison guards, especially the old-timers, the old sergeants, who knew better. They knew you treat prisoners harshly and would train new young warders into the bad old ways. It takes years to turn a tanker. And the University of Cape Town is a tanker. You've got a hell of a task ahead of you, man. And you've got to turn it quick, because I have to tell you, just as President Ramaphosa today makes a speech in his State of the Nation address, which was a South African speech, including all the political leaders, all the political parties, not just the ANC. And you have to include everybody, all the stakeholders, in the way in which you approach this. You can't force the change, you have to lead the change. And as I said earlier, and I like the repetition as a good pedagogue, you know? I see the change happening here, but it's got to go faster. It really has to go faster. Because if it doesn't, we face the prospect that the 1,000 people who were murdered extrajudicially in apartheid times, even 8-year-old kids were put in prison, and tens of thousands of years of imprisonment were imposed. There was imprisonment without trial, and at least 140 people were hanged judicially. Can we let that disappear into nothing in the anger of our people who are getting very, very impatient? And I like it when students get impatient. I like it that Rhodes' statue is gone. I'm not sure that I like human excrement poured on statues. Seriously, I think it's a shitty form of politics. Oh, you haven't heard the word before? Really, it requires, well, it was good consciousness raising. But when I look at you all here, I want you to get your degrees. I want you from inside to change things. Not say, well, the statue's gone, it's okay now. I'll get a job. Oh, you know, I see on campus there's the Oppenheimer building and there's the Otto Bite Students' Union. These are the great diamond magnates who exploited everything and everybody. But I also see a Chris Hani building, and I see a Stephen Biko building. And I say, what's happening at my alma mater, my sweet mother? I see nice things happening. I see there are good people around. And so I'm optimistic, and I'm very happy to get the degree from this university. I really am, because I see the change. I see the change that's happened and that my generation and me made possible. But you've got to carry it on, all of you, all of you. You've got to take up the banner and you've got to march forward. Can't go back. It can't remain at words. Change comes through action. There's a logical gap I learned at one of my sweet mothers. Oh, you know, I got lots of them. You know, I got a second degree, and that was in prison when the security police treated me to the third degree of torture. I got it in the second grade only, because here I am. But my comrade Lux Martin Goodler from Cape Town was the first to be murdered in that third degree period. I then got degrees from UNISA and various other doctorates and what have you. So now that I've been officially capped, you'll have to call me Professor Doctor. All of them have taught me. And among the great people at UCT in the 1950s was Professor Goodlett, who was Dean of Engineering. And he took up a post in Britain in nuclear physics. And in his farewell address, he talked about our university, especially as the engineering faculty, producing technological barbarians. We know how to build bridges and roads and railways, and we don't care what damage we do to people. If we get an order and we get a contract, we do it. That you've honored me, an engineer who knew how to build and also eventually to be able to make weapons to set us free from the oppression, shows that the university understands the need to take a stand against injustice. And for that reason, I'm honoured to accept the conferment of this honorary degree of Doctor of Science. Thank you very much indeed to everybody.
Doctor, Professor. Thank you very much for your speech.
By virtue of the authority conferred upon me, I admit to the degree specified to the candidates recorded as in absentia. I shall now admit to the degree specified the candidates to be presented to me.
Vice-Chancellor, I have the honor to present to you for the Postgraduate Diploma in Management Practice, Andrew Aguaro Adede. Clement Kwazi Asiama. Simone Agnes Bucas. Maria Luisa Manuel Kanga. Oh, sorry. Richard James Carstens. Paavo Lee Mark de Vries. That's Paavo. With distinction, Miriam Dube. With distinction, Paul Dube. With distinction, Jane Margaret Fraser. Tandeka Fiona Gwala. Dustin James Henry. Fatima Melissa Henwood. With distinction, Felicita Helga Hikwam. Jennifer Jenish. Belinda Sigrid Jones. Kota Kakunga. Lumba Kamanga. Bongiwa Deborah Klaas. Gerald Nana Akwazi Agyeman Kuzi. Crystal Lodder. Elaine Ellen Mani. Snatemba Tremaine Maduna. Lorena Maharaj. With distinction, Raki Kamraj Maharaj. Nombulelo Makwana. Kwabisa Happiness Makwanda. Gogo Mwanza Matadi. Anati Jeanette Nguba. Nontutugo Mkize. Sakile Ens Ngoma. Tembisile Colette Mnisi. Boitumelo Odirile Mogajane. Khomotso Motlechola. Yondela Kanya Mgwedlana. Tembani Manako Mzekeli. Rafilwe Gail Nube. Janet Munsaka Ndebele. Vera Sanazo Nhalo. Kubashni Patrick. Mark Anthony Peterson. Tembakazi Rala. Ayanda Rautini. Manana Regala. Lavona Roma, Ilam Saban, with distinction, Mohammed Said Salih, David Patricio Sepulveda, Avedius and Faruqi Severin, Jenny Siapata Irenga, Pamela Siau, Tracy Smith, Kiara Stanford, Ainsley Matthew Stewart, Ivy Shanice Stradham, with distinction, Quentin Stefan Talliard. Franco Tali, John Mark Thompson, Lindo Kujle Temane, Bronwyn Titus, Letabo Mamafile Tlobatla, Sianda Shoko, With distinction, Rhino Gerard Ace. Tasnim Vali. Devin van Rooyen. Morne Donny Venter. Werner Venter. Caslin Warner. With distinction, Elmarie Wessels. Alethea Wickham. Adnan Wise. Nandile Siyasanga Yani. With distinction, Sanlesiwe Zuku. Christine Nakiberu Balakuza. For the degree of Master of Business Administration with distinction, Anacelia Ariel Adams. Randa Alake Adechubu. Jangir Ali. Ali Farouk Ali. With distinction, Stephanie Elaine Apple. Armando Ayala Robles. Garrett Peter Broadset. Ruan Breitenbach. With distinction, Candace Melissa Carrols. With distinction, Pierre Hadrin Jacques Kasuto. Kalecho Tabita Chilawane. Byron Granville Christie. With distinction, Paul Alexander Kutza. Matthew Joseph Cruz. Daniel Ricardo da Silva. With distinction, Kevin de Jong. With distinction, Maureen Dene. Shelley DeRook. Eustace Stein de Vos. Philip Talbot Elliott. With distinction, Anthony James Ford. Yang Hao. James Thomas William Heldart. Margot Gianaros. With distinction, Bonita Grief. Hendrik Jacobus Haasbroek. With distinction, Zara Hammerschlag. Mayra Hartman, with distinction, Frances Sarah Heathcote. With distinction, Jonathan Paul Hill. With distinction, Wayne Idis. Tamina Itzkin. Sarah Jane Elizabeth Joshua. Andrew Sibuziso Jubane. Louis Gato Kigunda. Rilweli Kutama. Johannes Jacobus Lochner. Takudwa Machada. Khotso Mashasela. Thomas James Mashada. Larissa Mazlikova. With distinction, Lynn Marie Malloy. Sheshan Woodley. Desigan Munsami. Alexander St. Legemos. With distinction, Martin Manda Mapapuli. Majing Samuel Mperwane. Simbrarashe Shingari Maswaka. Tinswalo Given Tombeni. Regis Mukumbuzi. Saima Natha. Andre John Nell. With distinction, Jeannie Odendahl. Kavisha Meena Parbu. Nicolo Passarin Dentreves. With distinction, David Jacobus Pelser. Catherine Samantha Probert. Juliet Elizabeth Prowse. With distinction, Estia Hester Helena Rodemeyer. Celaleo Catlejo Remuzi. Riza Reed. With distinction, Uthman Samsudin. Samodin. Cosmos Dylan Shaduka. With distinction, Nidesh Sharma. Namuzia Monica Sikatali. With distinction, Barbara Jean Slazus. With distinction, Johannes Paulus Spangenberg. Sander Johannes Louis Stubbs. Hare Krishna Sudhakaran. Johann Harold Terblanche. With distinction, Andrew Tennyson. George Thomas. Sharon Joy Thomas. Timothy Nicholas Thornton. Ryan Michael Vandenberg. Caroline van der Merwe. Matthijs Mitchelse van der Merwe. Joel Benjamin van der Skeef. Russell Stephen Vati. Robin Stewart Vember. Ainley van Meulen. With distinction, Jacques Ulrich Vogeli. With distinction, Moritz Karl Erik van Hoosberg. With distinction, Jacobus Stephanus Viet. Lauren Olivia Williams. Brennan Kevin Wright. Zabius Tanatswa Zingoni. In Executive Management with distinction, Simon Garwood Alston. With distinction, Paxton Duvenel Anderson. With distinction, Jackie Vangu Bongo. Paramasavan Chetty. Karen Lynette de Klerk. Natalia Ndelimeke Alufu. With distinction, Helmut Herman Jo. Andre Nolan Johnson. Maxwell Sabelo Kubeka. Yolandi Lafranche. Lesecha Thomas Lejoto. Ignatius Butiki Lolilwe. With distinction, Kuleku Madonko. Dorcas Chapiso Moalani. Niaz Ahmed Moza. Chance Mugala. With distinction, Natasha Muller. With distinction, Wendell Gerard Naidu. Dhiren Pillai. Arvind Ramji. Linda Rolashe. With distinction, Mark John Smith. Clever Bernard Serumanga. Adolph Benjamin Toombs. With distinction, Daniel Rudolph Vandenheever. For the degree of Master of Commerce in Development Finance, Aliyu Adamu. With distinction in the dissertation, John Nimrod Bakilana. With distinction in the dissertation and the degree with distinction, Erin Elizabeth Bennett. With distinction in the dissertation, Joy Busolo. Blessmore Chanakira. Richard Chikia, with distinction in the dissertation, Ephraim Chia Munzo. With distinction in the dissertation, Blaise Joran Dobson. Sitembinkosi Dube. Rona Ndeshilefela Hakwashika. Nomfundiso Priscilla Jezi. With distinction in the coursework component, Lilo Honololo Letu. Edwin Mandla Kaisa Lemba. With distinction in the dissertation, Malasa Lumbala. Constance Montero Macala. Eric Gwandega Machala. Simbarashe Stanley Mahomedza. With distinction in the dissertation, Lifa Lili Majali. With distinction in the dissertation, Terence Creel Malumolo. Bridget Sikopo Matakala. Sharon Mbano. With distinction in the dissertation, Prudence Kushle Msini. Matombe Titus Modiba. Mapule Beauty Mofokeng. With distinction in the dissertation, Aliyu Mustafa Mohammed. With distinction in the dissertation, Khotso Kenneth Mapoli. Neko Sabiso Mushushu. Hutluwana Motlabane. With distinction in the dissertation, Tawanda Mudamburi. With distinction in the dissertation, Mildred Muru Yiwa. Jeremy Ronald Naidu. Luazi Dirksen Kuliwe. Kangwelani Nehemia Ramashia. Hilaria Indilokelwa Sikaria. Molobeng Serame. Ndeshi Fela Milau Shipirwa. With distinction in the dissertation, Mwanya Celine Siwale. George Semidos Sognon. With distinction in the coursework component, Imran Salwa. Barani Tongboonrod. Elise Penny Yambeko Usiku. With distinction in the dissertation, Kalwani Ziambo. For the degree Master of Philosophy in Inclusive Innovation with distinction, Geraldine Mary Hand. For the degree of Doctor of Philosophy in Business Administration, for a thesis which shows that financial integration outcomes on the conduct and performance of banks and the growth performance of African economies varies across 5 regional economic communities. Kanyiri Tandatius Benyon. For a thesis which tests happiness at work of employees at different stages of an organization's life in different departments within a firm through the lens of positive psychology, Baba Dharani. For a thesis which shows that the key to effectively implement and gain local legitimacy for South African multinationals internationalizing into other African countries is by understanding and respecting nuances around local culture. Rufaro Mucheka. For a thesis which shows why a multiple currency monetary policy is unsuitable for stock market performance, hence the need for dollarized countries to introduce measures that promote liquidity. Energy Matudi.
Vice-Chancellor, I have the honor to present to you for the degree of Doctor of Philosophy in Demography for a thesis which illuminates the patterns of contraceptive use adoption, switching, and discontinuation in 5 East African countries, adding to the empirical evidence base that can be used to inform reproductive health policies in the region. Peter Kisayaki. In economics, for a thesis which studies choices of telecommunication services made by individual consumers in South Africa, and which shows how competition and regulation impacts consumers with different income levels. Ryan David Hawthorne. For a thesis which shows the existence of income clustering in the South African income distribution and establishes that the distribution of labor market earnings creates those clusters while government transfers reduce them. Rajmotso Betroza Machema. For a thesis which shows that fast growth of loans and risk in microfinance institutions in sub-Saharan Africa are explained by multiple level factors, and that the loans from microfinance institutions are being substituted by mobile financial services, Eliud Dismas Moye. For a thesis which applies innovative experimental methods to the measurement of financial literacy and shows that financial literacy is significantly enhanced when individual decision makers can access the internet or make decisions in a group or household setting, Mark Patrick Schneider. For a thesis demonstrating the need to consider human behaviors when designing marine reserves and showing that fish and fishermen can both benefit if this is done, Mohammed Akhtar Riyad Sultan. In information systems, for a thesis which shows the contributions of telecenters for women empowerment in rural communities of Western Cape, South Africa, using information and communication technologies as pathways to improve development, Abiodun Oyebimpi Alao. For a thesis which designs a framework for IT auditing with high reliability and provides guidance for the improvement of audit practice contextually situated for internal and IT audit of organizations in less regulated environments, Samson Anoma. For a thesis which finds that the influence of external actors is likely to affect formulation of public ICT policies in poor countries, Gregory Kunyenje. For a thesis which shows that there is low uptake of ICTs in higher education in developing countries and that user resistance and poor ICTs implementation influence this low uptake, Lucy Charity Sakala. For a thesis which designs a novel business process management competency building curriculum for Kenya by incorporating concepts of the 4I framework of organizational learning and activity systems, Elizabeth Wanjuku Waitira Wamicha.
Vice-Chancellor, I have the honor to present to you for the degree of Doctor of Philosophy in Chemical Engineering for a thesis which demonstrates the development and application of a robust supply chain model to establish the potential economic, environmental, and social benefits of an optimally integrated bioenergy production network in South Africa, Jafaru Musa Egia. For a thesis which evaluates the effect of water recycling within mining operations and the management of non-valuable minerals for the beneficiation of platinum group metals, Malibongwe Shadrach Manono. For a thesis which shows that mathematical models are instrumental for enhancing bioethanol products from glucose and xylose by manipulation of variables such as operation conditions, process parameters, and types of microorganisms in a simple, time and cost-effective approach, Nasiba Nosrati Gods. For a thesis which uses microcalorimetry to differentiate the wettability of a range of economically important minerals and thereby establish the relationship between mineral surface wettability and flotation response, Gestos Taguta. For a thesis which analyzes small and large-scale applications of heap leaching and which provides quantitative relationships between the rate of extraction and the combination of rock mass density and irrigation system geometry, Petrus Johannes van Staden. For a thesis which integrates microbiology and engineering to develop a fundamental understanding of a bioprocess for the deregulation of thiocyanate and cyanide in gold mine process water, Andries Wynand van Zyl. In civil engineering, for a thesis which examines the prospects for stormwater harvesting in Cape Town, South Africa, and finds that the Ziku catchment is a viable option, John Okedi. For a thesis which shows that waste plastic bottles can be used in the construction industry through their incorporation into sand columns as a potential approach to waste minimization in landfills, Lakshmi Surbi Beetle. In electrical engineering, for a thesis which shows that for implementation and design of planar multiband filters for microwave systems, rapid design convergence is feasible, Leogadia Ndyapo Popieni Nepai. In geomatics, for a thesis which advances a constraint-oriented approach in focusing the development of spatial data infrastructures and proposes the concept and framework for the Southern African Customs Union Regional Spatial Data Infrastructure, Lophang Mapatle. in materials engineering for a thesis which was able to explain how the kinetics of oxide growth and crack propagation in stainless steels exposed to high temperature water is dependent on the coherency across the metal oxide interface. Ryan Paul Matthews. In mechanical engineering, for a thesis which demonstrates the use of a one-dimensional network approach to model a complex heat transfer and fluid flow processes in superheater heat exchangers, to better understand the relationship between the operational conditions and the tube metal temperatures. Excellent Zibekele Gwebu. For a thesis which uses a miniature double torsion technique coupled with live in situ scanning electron microscope observation of the micro-cracking fracture process to characterize polycrystalline diamond toughness and understand the microstructural parameters which affect it. Sergei Igorovich Petrov.
Vice-Chancellor, I have the honor to present to you for the degree of Doctor of Philosophy in Biological Anthropology for a thesis that examines the decomposition rate of porcine cadavers in order to calculate the post-mortem intervals for decomposed human forensic cases in the Western Cape. Devon Alexander Finaughty. In chemical biology for a thesis which investigates tissue-degrading proteins and exomes associated with macrophage infection by non-pathogenic Mycobacterium smegmatis, and which could be implicated in pulmonary cavitation and tuberculosis transmission. Palisa Pamela Sayela. In clinical sciences and immunology for a thesis which adds to the understanding that certain bacteria in the vagina and maternal immunological factors have an influential role in pregnancy outcome, Mashaneta Mugabe. For a thesis which shows differential distribution of M1 and M2 macrophages in placentas from HIV-infected women, and that the duration of antiretroviral drug exposure has no effect on the expression of M1 and M2 macrophages at the maternal-fetal interface, Michael Zakele Zulu. In exercise science, for a thesis which investigates the risk management and long-term effects of acute spinal cord injuries in South African rugby union players, Marilise Badenhorst. For a thesis which demonstrates that a low-cost, scalable, tailored print and SMS text system intervention results in greater improvements in health risk status compared to standard of care feedback following wellness days in primary school learners, Lester Ezra Joseph. In human genetics, for a thesis which uses mixed methods, including high-throughput DNA sequencing, to investigate genetic reasons why infants demise suddenly and unexpectedly in South Africa, Laura Jane Heathfield. For a thesis which shows the efficacy of whole exome sequencing in uncovering new genes and new genetic variants involved in hearing loss in sub-Saharan African patients, and the importance of including African populations in genetic studies, Kamogelo Lebeko. Thank you. In medical biochemistry, for a thesis which uses in vitro and in vivo methods to provide evidence that a novel small molecule inhibitor against the nuclear protein receptor KPN beta 1 has potential as an anti-cancer therapy, Adoronko Foboresaye Ajia Smith. In medical cell biology, for a thesis which identifies 2 palladium-based complexes as promising drugs for the treatment of rhabdomyosarcoma and 3 FDA-approved drugs that can be repurposed to treat this in pediatric cancer, Jenna Susan Beleloch. In medical microbiology, for a thesis that uses evidence synthesis to develop a knowledge base on the critical issues of adolescent immunization and for contribution to policy development on this subject, particularly in low and middle income countries, Leila Hussein Abdullahi. For a thesis which identifies risk factors that negatively influence diagnosis, linkage to care, and patient outcomes for individuals with rifampicin-resistant tuberculosis in Botswana, and highlights potential program improvements, Rosanna Morning-Boyd. In medical virology, for a thesis which evaluates behavioral and biological risk factors of HIV acquisition in adolescents and young South African women, Sean Lawrence Barnabas. For a thesis which evaluates the effect of progestin-based hormonal contraceptives on genital inflammation and the Th17 cell activation in adolescents at high risk for HIV infection, Yalu Konstantinos. For a thesis which reports the discovery, characterization, and evolutionary dynamics of 10 novel gamma papillomavirus types from swabs from South African men, all talents, Tutsirai Mahurawa. Okay. In medicine, for a thesis which incorporates 5 interlinked studies that highlight specific issues pertinent to the care and management of older persons with diabetes for policymakers and clinicians that may also be applicable to older individuals with other chronic infection, Mohammed Wefali. In neuroscience, for a thesis which demonstrates how to access accurately cognitive and functional impairment and which validates a screening tool for HIV-associated cognitive impairment in children and adolescents, Nicole Justine Phillips. In physiotherapy, for a thesis which demonstrates the efficacy of activity-based exercise interventions in improving motor skills and physical fitness among South African female adolescents with movement difficulties and those who are overweight and obese, Emmanuel Bonnet. In psychiatry, for a thesis which demonstrates how new meta-analytic approaches can be used to synthesize data and to make clinical decisions on medication for the treatment of social anxiety disorder and post-traumatic stress disorders in adults. Tamron Williams. For a thesis which shows the diverse course of depression symptoms during pregnancy and the postpartum period among low-income women and opportunities for more efficient identification and referral strategies for perinatal mental health services in South Africa, Emily Claire Garman. for a thesis which shows that post-traumatic stress disorder and comorbid major depressive disorder present with distinct patterns of neurocognitive, resting state, functional brain connectivity, and structural brain abnormalities. Sherry Michelle Kubowitz. For a thesis which shows that substance abuse is highly prevalent and can be accurately diagnosed in serious mental illness and is associated with greater levels of post-traumatic stress, anxiety, suicidality, criminal involvement, and medical side effects. Hendrik Sebastian Temerina. For a thesis which demonstrates how availability, accessibility, and quality of palliative care are key considerations for developing health policies in South Africa based on based on the right to health in public health. Elizabeth Margaret Jean Guetha. In public health, for a thesis which demonstrates how an understanding of power, in particular countervailing and enabling power, is critical to effecting stronger and more meaningful community participation in health consistent with the right to health. Hana Jansa Harikaran. For a thesis which shows that professionalism in medicine is a complex concept that includes values, knowledge, skills, behavior, and responsibilities centered around trust between doctors and patients and informed by identity, power, and hierarchy, Lorna Lynn Olkers. For a thesis which shows substantial disengagement from HIV care among pregnant and postpartum women and highlights key considerations for measuring and supporting engagement in HIV care amongst women who start antiretroviral therapy during pregnancy, Tamsin Kate Phillips. For a thesis which shows how women with disabilities in South Africa experience additional layers of gender-based violence and face unique barriers to accessing gender-based violence and disability services, Ingrid van der Hagen.
May the platform party please stand for the posthumous award of a degree. Vice-Chancellor, I have the honor to present to you for the degree of Doctor of Philosophy in African Languages and Literature, for a thesis which shows how plays based on the non-Ngwawuse story, though inspired by Xhosa genres of orature and storytelling, betray the essence of the narrative by failing to harness isiXhosa adequately and by too readily resorting to English. Nomfezeko Yani will accept the degree on the behalf of her brother, Sikumbuzo Manwood Skura Yani. please be seated. Vice-Chancellor, I have the honor to present to you for the degree of Doctor of Philosophy in African Studies for a thesis which uses a critical curatorial history of sartorial objects in South African museum collections to propose strategies for decolonizing museum collection, classification, and representation practices, Erica de Grief. For a thesis which shows that contract farming benefits accrue to asset-rich tobacco farmers, while farmers with low asset endowment, including land, benefit less from contract farming, Moses Moyo. In English language and literature, for a thesis which analyzes the literary representation of colorism, focusing on the interplay between race, color, class, and gender-based discrimination, and the pursuit of whiteness in contemporary literature of the Anglophone Caribbean and the Cape, Brittany Renice Smith. In environmental and geographical studies, for a thesis which examines how contemporary art moves from the studio into the formal art worlds, that explains value and valuation shifts en route, and that proposes a way to revalue art for its public interest, Kim Jeanette Gurney. For a thesis which focuses on Zimbabwean urban food systems, showing that planning regulations in much of the global south are inappropriate to the lived experience of urban residents, Percy Munyaradzi Toriro. In film studies, for a thesis which develops new concepts for the analysis of ongoing television narratives, showing how these narratives continually generate plot through the productive tension between characters and communities, Christina Grau. In fine art, for a thesis using an innovative coupling of scholarship with creative practice to address colonized subjectivity and to challenge entrenched knowledge practices in both the university and ethnographic museums, Teboho George Mahashe. In historical studies, for a thesis which discusses how the state denial and produced silences from the 1980s Gukurahundi occurrences in Zimbabwe have shaped and continue to shape survivors' intersectional and intergenerational memories, as well as their views about justice, Nompilo Cindy Ndlovu. In media studies, for a thesis which shows that ownership and control patterns make it impossible for one radio station to fully represent all small indigenous languages in Zimbabwe, Tariro Ndawana. In music, for a thesis which complements a creative component comprising 4 recitals, including a premiere of a work by Hendrik Hofmeyr, and which focuses on an analytical study of Hofmeyr's chamber music, Justin Munro Carter. In psychology, for a thesis showing that disrupted sleep is linked to cognitive impairment and that improving conditioning and overall quality of life requires optimizing sleep, Michelle Henry. In religious studies, for a thesis which shows the formative nature of everyday aesthetic existence and the consequent role it plays in ethical formation and Christian discipleship, Adrian Marshall Coates. For a thesis which shows how the concept of righteousness in the Sermon on the Mount is used for ideological purposes in the identity politics of the original community addressed by the Gospel of Matthew, Ferdinand Manjewa Mbwangwi. In social anthropology, for a thesis which explores Somali migrants' mobility and belonging in Cape Town, showing how digital technologies and virtual spaces have become significant to political, economic, social, and cultural life, both within and across national borders, Ingrid Brodvik. In sociology, for a thesis which assesses the occupational changes in Cape Town's job market, as well as demonstrating that racial inequality and segregation in the city has persisted in the post-apartheid period, Jean-Paul Solomon. In Spanish, for a thesis which focuses on African historical religions and Africana spirituality and proposes a model for analyzing Afro-Caribbean philosophical archetypes in contemporary Caribbean literature, Katia Patricia de la Cruz Garcia.
Vice-Chancellor, I have the honor to present to you for the degree of Doctor of Philosophy in Commercial Law for a thesis which shows the impact of consumer 3D printing on the intellectual property framework and how it can be optimized to promote consumer use and creativity. Bram van Wille. In private law, for a thesis which shows how poor intergovernmental relations and processes in the regulation of mining and land use planning hamper effective cooperation and collaboration between the Department of Mineral Resources and municipalities, Catherine Louis van Schalkwyk. In public law, for a thesis which analyzes electronic evidence and suggests law reform for clarity and consistency in South African law, Lee Swales.
Vice-Chancellor, I have the honor to present to you for the degree of Doctor of Philosophy in Applied Mathematics for a thesis which explores the development of an efficient and versatile scientific computing platform for the study of the complex flows of complex fluids. Jade Kazara Abuga. For a thesis which demonstrates that computer algorithms inspired by the biological evolution in nature can solve complex modern optimization problems related to designing optimal machine learning and artificial intelligence algorithms for text sentiment and facial emotion recognition. Emmanuel Dufourcq. For a thesis which develops a model that is shown to counteract the negative impact of illiquidity in measuring the credit worth of corporate bonds in South Africa by including exogenous information in the estimation and forecasting process, Samantha Jones. For a thesis which explores the possibilities of testing our theory of gravitation with the statistics of the distribution of galaxies, Teboho Abram Molloy. For a thesis which uses the latest technology from contemporary quantum field theory to explore the frontiers of gravity and quantum information science, Nathaniel Timothy Babakar Moynihan. In archaeology, for a thesis which furthers our understanding, sorry, she's my student, of the emergence and spread of tuberculosis in the South African bioarchaeological record and provides the first evidence for ancient tuberculosis DNA in South Africa, Tessa Jane Campbell. For a thesis which shows that there is need to balance conservation with sustainable development at Mapungubwe Cultural Landscape World Heritage through an adaptive management approach, Pascal Teravinga. In biological sciences, for a thesis which investigates the impact of climate change and human land use on tropical dry forests in southwest Madagascar and develops conservation strategies on these ecosystems with consideration of human livelihoods, Estelle Raza Fimana Nsoa Raza Natsoa. For a thesis which explores the natural history, sensory ecology, and biogeography of the seed dispersal of large fruits in the fynbos biome of South Africa, and reports several novel plant-animal interactions and identifies important environmental drivers of major dispersal modes, Joseph Douglas Montler White. In chemistry, for a thesis which highlights the collaborative efforts of natural products chemistry and medicinal chemistry towards drug discovery, Godwin Akpeko Zuwarnu. in environmental and geographical science for a thesis which uses structured decision-making tools in a scenario-based approach with small-scale fissures in support of improved decision-making in marine social ecological systems under global change. Louise Karen Gamage. For a thesis which investigates participative water demand management as an adaptive response within complex socio-institutional systems in order to understand the need for change and improvement in securing a scarce resource going into the future. Nina Susara Villon. In geology, for a thesis which shows how the distribution and geochemistry of microfossil foraminifera can be used to decipher changes in ocean productivity, circulation, and climate since the Neogene on the continental margin of southern Africa, Eugene Winston Berg. For a thesis which shows that the breakup of the supercontinent Gondwana, as recorded in the rock record of the Southern Cape, was a prolonged process that started 25 million years earlier than previously established. Robert Anthony Muir. For a thesis which investigates the geochemistry and petrogenesis of mantle-derived minerals and kimberlites from Central and Southern Africa, and which addresses several contentious issues pertaining to kimberlite magmatism, melt-lithosphere interaction, and lithospheric evolution in these regions. Buliba Jahaziel Mkere. In mathematics, for a thesis which deals with the construction of a probability measure related to the number of commuting subgroups in infinite groups with contributions to the theory of the subgroup commutativity degree. Funmilayo Eniola Kazim. In molecular and cell biology, for a thesis which describes the development of plant-produced African horse sickness virus vaccine candidates as alternatives or adjuncts to the currently used live attenuated vaccine. Susan Jennifer Dennis. In ocean and atmosphere science, for a thesis which examines changes in sea level along the southern African coast to further our understanding of how weather and climate influence sea level rise and variability. Bernardino João Nantumbo. In physics, for a thesis in which two new theoretical models provide novel insight into the properties of the universe a microsecond after the Big Bang. Isabel Kolbe.
Well, that was a wonderful ceremony, right? I have to say, of course, that we had a stop and start, you know, like it was very quiet and until the Limpopo crew started coming up. And then, of course, the Limpopo crew made us feel we are in a graduation ceremony. Thank you to Limpopo, thank you. Congratulations to all the graduates. You think, what am I doing? What do we do whilst on stage? I mean, we do so many graduation ceremonies, and you see me chatting, you're thinking, what is she asking them? What is she talking about? And of course, if you're a graduate, you're wondering, what am I going to say? And so on. Well, let me clue you in. Okay, essentially, I mean, I catch up on fashion when I'm here. So I'm looking at the shoes, the dresses. So some of the times when you see me whispering things to them, I'm basically saying nice shoes, or I love your hair, or where did you get that lipstick? And then, of course, sometimes I ask them where they come from. So, it's wonderful because when we welcome students here coming to start at UCT, they usually come from a variety of countries. And it's wonderful to see them when they graduate. They also come from a variety of countries. So we have people here from Jamaica, Ghana, Madagascar. Madagascar showed up today. It usually doesn't, but today it's here. Madagascar is not only in the quarterfinals of the Africa Cup, it's here also. Nigeria, of course, Zimbabwe. You know how we spot Zimbabwean names? Someone like that, we have Zimbabwe, we look by the names. Like if you have anyone called Chance or Edmore or Good Enough or Boy Again, then you know it's a Zimbabwean name, So today there was someone with the name Excellent, and I thought Zimbabwean name. And then I asked him, and then he said he's from Eswatini. I missed it, So we also had Swaziland, we had DRC Congo, we had Uganda, we had Kenya, we had Namibia. We had the US of A, ladies and gentlemen. We had Colombia as well. We had the world here, which is wonderful. So congratulations to all of you who graduated today. And of course, it's always special to have a graduation where there's an honorary graduate. It's a pity Dr. Goldberg had to leave, but it's always special. And of course, more than anything, it's special for them, and we normally say congratulations to them. But today, I didn't want to say congratulations to Dr. Goldberg. I wanted to say thank you, rather than congratulations, because And the thank you, I'm sure you suspect that the thank you is because of what he did many years ago, being accused number 3 on the Rivonial trial. But it's not only for that. That speech of a thank you for being accused number 3, anyone can make who's outside UCT, who's out there. But we, as the leadership of UCT, as the UCT community, we are saying thank you to him for accepting the honor of getting an honorary doctorate from us. It's a thank you for that, because it is in whom we honor that people get to know who we are. If anyone doesn't know who we are, what we stand for, what our values are, they can look at whom we honor. And from then, they can deduce who we are, what we stand for. And so it is an honor for us to have Dr. Goldberg accepting an honorary doctorate from our university, because that is a feather on our cap. That helps as we go on our process of transformation, defining who we are, or saying to the world, this is who we are becoming. So please join me in thanking Dr. Goldberg for accepting this honorary doctorate from us. Well, to all the parents, I hope you felt proud as we did, watching your loved ones walk up the stage today. Your sister, your brother, your daughter, your bundle of joy, who's grown up and is here graduating today. And their success is your success. As brilliant as they are, of course, some of them have been star performers all their lives, and them walking the stage today, probably for you, it's just one of those things, but I know for them, it is not. And I want to remind them today that as brilliant as they are and as hard as they have worked, they got here through the love and support of the people, many of whom are in this room. They gave birth to you, they raised you, they loved you, they put up with you through high school, through your adolescence. They instilled in you their values of hard work, reaching for the stars and never giving up. And your families, friends, loved ones gave you so much support, both emotionally and mentally, during your whole time studying here at UCT. And so I want to request you this day to stand up and show some appreciation to everyone who supported you to get this far. They are sitting on the left, some of them are up there, some of them are on your right. I want you to wave your scroll at them, just as a sign of appreciation for the support they granted you. Okay, this is the shabbiest applause I've ever seen. Let me explain, ladies and gentlemen. Wait, don't sit down here, don't sit down, don't sit down. You know, I was sitting there, you know, and there are girlfriends, wives here who shouted their lungs out, you know. Some of them for a guy who hasn't even married them yet, you know. So, I mean, the least you can do is to wave that scroll with some enthusiasm. Come on, do that! Fantastic. Fantastic, 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 fantastic. Beautiful, that looked like it. That looked like it. Now, do me a favor, don't dump them. Okay, keep standing. You missed that one, that's okay. Now, as smart as you are and as supportive as your families have been, you wouldn't be here if the people on stage were not there. Some of them supervised you, they read your chapters, bad ones, good ones, rubbish ones, they read them, they gave you comments. And you came back, and some of you took a few months break, you didn't submit anything, and they were still there for you. So please show some love to the academics on stage. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Now, thank you. The academics on stage are amazing. They do all this work and they celebrate with you. What many students don't know, by the way, as you graduate, you postgraduates, it's not only you who graduates, your supervisors also graduate. It's like tick. So, ladies and gentlemen, there are other people who are not here with us necessarily in the hall, and I want us to honor them. So I'm going to ask each and every one of you to stand up in honor of all our professional admin and support staff, staff members who house, feed all of our students and maintain our university campus so that all of us can get on with our academic work, whose outputs we are celebrating today. There are also staff members who have worked very hard to ensure that this wonderful occasion proceeds smoothly, and they are all our heroes. We want to honor them, so please, let's put our hands together for our professional staff. Fantastic, fantastic. Thank you, you may be seated. Getting a university degree is wonderful. If it changes the color of your gown, even better. And in this season, we're graduating 107 doctoral graduates. We are proud of you. This is wonderful. Congratulations to the supervisors and to everyone. But of course, whether there's a red gown or not, graduations are special moments. They change lives. And there are many stories of our graduates who are in the hall today. They are amazing. I've read some of them. Some of them I've learned from talking to them. And And I just want to share two of them. One is a story of Dr. Malibongwe Manono, who walked the stage today. He completed his PhD in chemical engineering in just 3.5 years, while simultaneously juggling his teaching responsibilities in our Department of Chemical Engineering, and after navigating a winding and often bumpy road in the lead up to his accomplishment. Of course, completing a degree in 3.5 years is not trivial, everyone knows that. But if I tell you that in addition to that, of course, is the fact that Dr. Manono's story is one of those stories that will inspire you, that give you hope. It is a phenomenal story. Dr. Manono's journey began in Khayelitsha, where he spent his early years before leaving for his grandmother's home in Willowvale in the Eastern Cape. Like many of us, black people, my generation or younger, when we grow up, when things become a little harder, you get posted to your grandparents to live with them. Under his grandmother's careful and encouraging watch, he completed grade 3 to 9 before returning to Khayelitsha to finish his last 3 years of at Joe Slovo Engineering High School, where he completed his matric. Who would have thought that Dr. Manono would be here? How many students or how many young people from Khayelitsha make it to where he made it? We celebrate Dr. Manono's achievement today, not only because he's our staff member and will contribute to what the university becomes, but also because his story is one of inspiration, one of hope, one that will remind each and every young person in Khayelitsha that it is possible no matter who says what and no matter what happens to you. So, Dr. Manono, congratulations. Well, and as it happens, well done. This acknowledgement is also a handover of responsibility to make sure that we get more of you from Khayelitsha. Congratulations on your wonderful achievement. Graduations also help us to break stereotypes. There are many stereotypes in our world, and that's why when I tell people that I'm proud to work in this university that's led by 4 women, their jaws drop. And I say, well, we are the only university in the world that's led by 4 women. Many people talk about women empowerment and the importance of women in leadership, but very few people do it. And this university has done it. Today, we graduated the first woman soil doctor, Dr. Laxmi Sobi Bitul. She's a Mauritian who arrived in Cape Town in 2006 to begin her undergraduate degree in civil engineering. And in the 13 years of her association with UCT, she married the love of her life, who I hope is in the hall and is a UCT alum as well. As you can imagine, they met on this Jamie stairs. And they together have a son who's 5 years old. And we celebrate today Dr. Sobi Bitul's achievement, not because it's wonderful for her and her husband, but because it helps us see what women are capable of. Not just women, but women on this continent. Because there's patriarchy, and there's patriarchy as it happens on the African continent. So congratulations to you, Dr. Sobi Bitul, on your achievement, and as you take on the challenge to bring more women congratulations as you join us to make sure that more women join us in this journey. Now, as we close, I want to share 2 hopes that I have for each and every one of you graduates. My first hope is that as a UCT graduate, you will not be afraid to stand out. I know it can feel uncomfortable to stand out, but someone has to do it. It is easy to follow along. It can feel strange to do or say something different. But without that unease, there is no freedom. The moment you set an example, the spell of the status quo is broken, and others will follow. So do not be afraid to stand out, even if it's just by the colors you wear or the size of your earrings. Do not be afraid to stand out. My second hope for you is that I hope you take responsibility for the face of the world. Notice the signs of hate wherever you go, in the boardrooms that you will occupy or that you already occupy, in the positions of power and the responsibilities that will be entrusted with you and in your daily lives. When you see signs of hate, do not look away and do not get used to them, even if those signs of hate are against someone who looked like former oppressors of your ancestors. Do not accept it. Do not look away. Remove them from yourself and set an example for others who do so, for others to do so. Always remember that life is political, not because the world cares about how you feel, but because the world reacts to what you do. So the minor choices we make each day are themselves a kind of a vote, and it matters. If you're sitting in a boardroom and someone misbehaves, shows signs of hate, and you do nothing, it is a vote for that hate to continue. So do not waste the vote, the opportunity to vote every day to stand against signs of hate. Well, these are my hopes for you. But why do I think you can carry them out? It's because you're a UCT graduate. I mean, if you can't do it, who will? Congratulations.
Ladies and gentlemen, this takes us to the end of the proceedings for today. I invite you to stand up for the Vice-Chancellor to dissolve the congregation and to remain standing until the procession leaves the hall, after which you are encouraged to follow us and shake hands and continue the celebration outside. Thank you very much for your company and for your good spirit during the ceremony. Thank you very much.
By virtue of the authority conferred upon me, I hereby dissolve this congregation of the University of Cape Town.